BellisarioSonic YouTube channel from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, where we talk about music, records, do record reviews, interviews, and much more. Today, I'm doing a live stream. It's been a little while since I've done one, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do one tonight and hang out for a little bit, see who stops by. I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of record collecting for 2025. I think that would be kind of an interesting topic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about also venturing out and doing the Bird Box Records distribution, which I'm really excited of doing this year for 2025. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on. I also wanted to hear your guys' feedback. So this is a chance for you guys to weigh in and let me know what you're looking at for 2025 when it comes to record collecting. I put a little poll up, and the great majority of you guys seem like you're interested in the reissues, which I'm doing quite a few of those here at the beginning of the year. There were a lot of sales that went on during the holidays. As you guys probably know, there were a lot of like 50% off deals and a lot of really, really good deals for those who are looking for reissue stuff too. The Allman Brothers box set was like under $100. A lot of the Blue Note stuff was on sale for $20. The Verve had a sale. You could pick up theirs for under $20. A lot of different titles, even some of the analog production stuff. There was a lot of stuff on sale this year. So, yeah, so a lot of stuff going on. I did want to discuss a little bit about the state of record collecting, because I think there was a lot of sales, more than normal, and there were pretty large discounts this time around this year for Christmas and even after Christmas for the New Year. So I was pretty surprised. I mean, I spent several $100s on these sales because they were just too good to pass up, you know. So there was a lot of different records that I couldn't pass up, you know, even like I said, some of the jazz, the analog productions, the Sonny Stitt, for example, that was like $20 when it was on sale briefly. There were Warner had a big sale, Rhino had a big sale, and a lot of them were under $20. And so I had like these boxes coming to the house, like, you know, every few days, and there were like 6 or 7 records. Joni Mitchell, those were on sale. I picked up a box set of hers and a couple of different records by her. A lot of stuff that I may not have picked up if it wasn't for these big sales. So you guys leave your comments. Let me know what you guys picked up over the holiday season that was on sale. And I still have a bunch of those reviews coming up. So I also wanted to share with you guys some records that I've just picked up over the last month or so. Used records, some new records. So, for example, I'm picking up some of these Japanese Toshiko Akiyoshi Lou Tabakin records. And these are kind of not too popular, but they're really cool Japanese jazz records. And so I've got about 4 or 5 of these coming that I purchased on eBay. So I picked up a really cool Sonny Chris album. It was in pretty good shape. It's on the Prestige label. Pretty cool record. So I picked this up lately, the last couple of days. I picked up some really cool Latin type of jazz, and a couple of used ones, as well as a new record of Paquito de Rivera. And there's a really cool trumpet player on here that a friend told me about that I was just blown away by, who was Claudio Roditi is his name. And he is one of the greatest trumpet players ever. He's on these records here. Fantastic. So these are a couple of records I picked up, and this was a record that's a candid pressing that I still have yet to open up and actually do a review on this. So I'm going to open this up and actually play play that. I also picked up, what else did I get? Picked up on one of the sales a couple of the Harvey Mandel records, and these were really these were like under 10, like around $10. Both of these, pretty cool guitar, kind of late 60s, early 70s type of funk, blues type of guitar. This dude could really play. So these were two that I picked up that were on sale. What else did I get? Picked up a couple of U2 albums that I didn't have. So this is brand new. I still have to open this up. This was, again, one of those sales that they were like half off. They were like under $20, like $17, I think this was. And I got this one too. How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. So I like a lot of the U2 stuff, especially this era and earlier. So I wanted to pick some of those up. I was over at a antique mall and picked this up, this Tangerine Dream, which is in really good shape, kind of something different. So I picked this up. This was like, I don't know, $7 or something. Picked up a Kinks record for, this was like $4 at the record store, like brand new. And the Doobie Brothers. I noticed, I think they put this out, a reissue of this, but this is an original copy. And this one's like almost brand new. Someone turned this in at the record store, and this was like $4. So I picked this up. So added, quite a few records to my collection here lately. Found this one actually today for $10. This Peter Gunn, Shelly Manne and His Men Play Peter Gunn. So this one was in pretty good shape, and it's on that cool yellow contemporary label. So I still have to clean this one off and test play this one, see how it sounds, but it looked like it was in pretty good shape. So whenever I see these contemporary records releases at a reasonable price, I usually pick those up. So anyway, set that over to the side. What else did I pick up? I picked up an Ultravox collection record here lately. And I picked up, I always like picking these up. I don't know if you guys have seen these Jazzology records. Now, if you're not into Dixieland type jazz, you're probably not going to like this, but I do like a lot of those Dixieland kind of New Orleans type jazz. And whenever I see these, they're usually pretty inexpensive, and they're usually in really good shape at this record store here in Birmingham that I go to called Seasick Records. So this was like $5. So I picked this up, and it looks like it's almost brand new, but Kid Thomas and his Algiers Stompers. Anyway, I kind of like listening to that stuff. So that's just some of the stuff I picked up here lately. I did want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Bird Box records. I did if you guys saw the channel announcement, I'm pretty excited about that because they were pretty expensive to pick up out of Italy, especially if you're going to buy one at a time or two at a time. So what I was able to do was set up an arrangement with Lorenzo Vella, who is the owner of Bird Box Records, and he's just outside of Rome in Italy. He has a really cool recording studio there that's all this analog equipment, and he maintains it there. And he has a lot of gear, a lot of vintage microphones, vintage recording board, all these different tape machines and outboard gear. And he really gets a good sound out of that studio. So I was really excited to be able to get those and distribute those here in the U.S. So in the description below, you'll see a link to that website where you can go and you can purchase these records. Right now, you have 6 different vinyl records. This review of this Paolo Recchia will be coming out this coming Wednesday. I'm doing a needle drop on this, and this is a fantastic sounding record. Kind of more straight ahead jazz. He's a great saxophone player, but you have this piano player named Luca Manuzza, who's a wonderful player. This is just a fantastic record, and it's really a nice sounding recording. It's like you're sitting there in the studio with this particular record. So this is one of the earlier pressings, and these were pressed in Rome. This happens to be a smoke color red vinyl. Again, all things being equal, I prefer black vinyl, and black vinyl is usually quieter, especially when you have a lot of quiet passages. This one was a pretty good sounding pressing. There wasn't too much noise on it. So this one sounded really good. All the current pressings that he's doing is coming out of Optimal in Germany at this point, but he's also looking at maybe pressing at some other plants as well. This one is a really cool sounding album by Francesco Maschio, who is a guitar player. This review, Needle Drop, will be coming out tomorrow. This on a smoke green vinyl. This one was had a little more surface noise in the quiet passages than I would have liked. It's not terrible. It doesn't destroy the listening experience, but it's certainly not as good as the other pressings. So I just be upfront with that. But it's a fantastic sounding record. It was the beautiful recording, and his guitar playing is fantastic. So pretty cool recording. All these are numbered editions, either 150 or 300. So they're very limited pressings. They're all hand numbered, and they all come in these resealable sleeves here. So they're really nice. This one here is pressed on black vinyl. I think this is from Optimal. This is a great, nice sounding record. You have two wonderful guitar players, Umberto Fiorentino and Claudio Quattrone. And Claudio was the first guest that I had on the channel that I had a chat with for all these musician interviews or conversations. And really cool dude, but this is a really nice sounding recording here. So this one's available as well. This new Francesco Maschio Romantic Dunya record is phenomenal. This one sounds like you're sitting in the same room with these guys, and a lot of cool acoustic guitar playing on this. And it kind of has some of that Django Reinhardt feel on some of the tracks. There's a Mediterranean flavor on some of the tracks. There's some really cool percussion, and the recording is phenomenal. This was recorded at Nightingale Studios. Lorenzo Vella recorded this, and it sounds phenomenal. Here you have all the different players on here, and this is just a very warm, immersive listening experience. So this is definitely one I would recommend. Again, you can go to the website and check it out. When you go to the website, there'll be vinyl, records, compact disc, and also master reference tapes, which I want to talk a little bit about those and see who's interested in those. They are quite expensive. I do have a tape machine here that I have some of those old reel-to-reel analog tapes, and they sound very good. And that's starting to become more popular again. So I want to talk about that in a moment. This is another one that sounds very good. And if you like saxophone playing, that kind of gets a little bit out there, but still has a very kind of a Coltrane sound to it, but all original music by Cristiano Giardini. And if you guys follow the channel, you know that I did a long interview with him, conversation, and we just went through and talked about all his favorite jazz musicians, his favorite saxophone players, and we talked a lot about different records. So I had a really good time talking with him. Very knowledgeable, very like a student of jazz saxophone. And this record is a wonderful journey. It sounds fantastic. It's a great pressing. And again, this was made at Bird Box at the Nightingale Studios at Lorenzo Studio there on all analog equipment. So this is a really nice album as well. Then you have the first record by Umberto Fiorentino and Claudio Quattrone, which is also a nice sounding record. So all 6 of these are available. I've also got the CDs, and some of these recordings are only available on CD, so you'll be able to see those when you go to the website. So I noticed a couple of you guys are on watching. If you guys have any comments, let me know. Any questions? And also, I'm curious about what interests you this coming year as far as record collecting goes. For me, I'm going to be a little bit more, after spending this money over the holidays and buying a lot of these reissues, things that I really wanted. I'm going to try to be a little bit more discerning on what I purchase. So especially when it comes to reissues, and it's going to be a little bit more, I'm going to be a little bit more reserved in buying those this year. But I want to focus on new jazz releases. As I've mentioned before, I like to focus on supporting working jazz musicians, and I love supporting the independent jazz labels. So when those start coming out, those are really what I'm going to focus on purchasing, the ones that I like. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time listening to new releases, and only a very small percentage of them do I actually purchase. I purchase all of them with my own money. So when I buy them, I already like the music. And then I love sharing that with you guys. So I'm definitely going to be focusing on that this year. So you guys will be seeing a lot of new release reviews. You guys will be seeing a lot of those this year. That's kind of really what I'm going to focus on, because it's going to take me weeks just to catch up on the reissues that I bought over this holiday season. I've got probably another 10 sitting on the floor in my listening room that I need to review. So I do love reviewing those, and I love buying those. It's just I've got so many at this point that I really want to focus on new releases in different types of music, jazz music. And there's a lot of talented jazz musicians out there now that are making fantastic records. So that's kind of where the focus of the channel is going to be. But I will pick up some of the reissues that come out this year, but it's going to be a very focused purchasing on those. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So leave your comments and let me know what you guys are looking to purchase. Other than that, I'm really happy that the channel is doing so well, and that you guys are enjoying the videos. I love hearing your comments. I love when you guys come on the channel. Let me know what you think about, how the record sounds. One of the interesting ones that I reviewed, did a needle drop on, was that Yes Fragile record from Analog Productions, and I compared it to the 1972 US pressing, OG pressing, and it was a very big difference between the two. And when you guys go watch the full video, I had to go back and forth and listen to, I got stuck on just listening to the first track. So I'm listening to Roundabout, and I would put I listened to the original first, and then I put the Analog Productions one on, and right away you could hear a big difference between the two. And all the comments that are being left on that they range so drastically that people are like, oh no, the original sounds way better. Analog Productions doesn't sound as good. Then you had other people that were like, the Analog Productions sounds much better. And I had kind of a mixed feelings about it for that one, because when I really liked the sound of the original pressing, and it really had this impact. And that's kind of how I kind of judge how these sound. It's not always the detail, even though the Analog Productions had more detail. You could hear things on it that you didn't hear on that original pressing, especially in the keyboards and the drums and things like that. But the overall impact of it, for some reason, just didn't resonate with me the same way that the original pressing. And that's been kind of rare with that series, because overall that Analog Productions Atlantic series has been pretty good, and usually an improvement over the originals. But on this one, I wouldn't say that it didn't sound good. It just sounded different. And again, we all have our own personal preferences when it comes to how the record hits you, and also how you've listened to it over the years. So if you're used to hearing, if you're a big Yes fan and you've listened to these records over many years, and they hit you a certain way, and you have a certain way it sounds, and then all of a sudden you get something that's different, a lot of times it's hard to adapt to the difference. even if it's a higher fidelity or there's more detail. It's very interesting. So, and I love the comments that I get. So I love when you guys leave your comments on these videos, and I read them all. So, and it's just interesting how everybody has their own opinion on these. So I'm going to be doing more of those. I'll be doing some SACD comparisons again to the vinyl. I did I've only done one of those so far. I just haven't had time to do. I want to do the Police synchronicity comparison. That's the next one that I want to do for SACD to vinyl comparison. And I have an original pressing of that sounds fantastic. So, again, when you have some of these pressings that you really like and they sound wonderful, it's like, well, how can you improve on this? And so the SACD, I did the Oliver Nelson comparison, SACD to the Analog Productions record. And I preferred the sound of the record overall. And I think there's something with, I've listened to several SACDs now in my listening room. And even though there's more dynamic range, you've got like hardly any noise in the recording. But I find it where it almost doesn't sound natural, if that makes sense. It almost sounds too good. In other words, it's so quiet. There's detail, but sometimes there's not that warmth on the SACD. And so I know a lot of you guys out there prefer the SACDs. You think they sound fantastic. And again, I think they sound wonderful, that they just sound different. And over the years, I've listened to records so much, there's just a certain way a record sounds that when you hear a CD or you hear an SACD, it sounds different. And I also, listen to a lot of live music. We have a wonderful jazz jam session here. Actually, that I did a documentary on Jose Carr, who's an Alabama Hall of Fame trumpet player. And I go to those jam sessions a lot. So I'm used to hearing live jazz. And when you listen to a record or listen to some of those analog recordings, they have a natural sound to them. And when they're remastered and put on SACD, there's something about it that, to me, that doesn't sound so natural. It gets to where it sounds so quiet, so sterile. Everything is so, I don't know how to describe it, perfect clarity, where it almost doesn't sound real. Maybe that's the best way to explain it. So you guys leave your comments on SACDs and let me know what you think. For me, the records seem to just have this natural sound of almost like an airy breath, like a natural sound to it that the SACDs and CDs just sometimes don't have, because they're so quiet. If that, and some people will, would say, well, that's higher fidelity, right? The SACD is a higher fidelity. It's quiet. It's perfect. You hear every little detail. And yet, when you listen to it, how does it impact you? That's always the question I ask myself when I'm doing these reviews, is how does it hit me? And because sometimes you can sit there and listen to the recording and you're just listening for the fidelity. So you're listening to each instrument. How does the trumpet sound? How do the drums sound? The drums are always one of the first things I listen to when I do the review. How does the drums hit me? How does that resonant sound when that snare hits or the kick hits or those cymbals? And if there's a certain way it hits you, especially when you compare the vinyl and then you put the SACD on, and all of a sudden it's so quiet and there's just these, you can hear more detail, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to actually have the impact on you, the same impact. In other words, the music, how does it hit you? So I think that's a big critical element, is that, yeah, you can sit there and analyze it and you can say, okay, I hear more detail on the guitar, or I hear more detail on the way, on this new master or the SACD. But does that necessarily mean that it's better? I mean, does more detail always mean that it's a better recording? And I would say that that's not always the case. So it might not hit you the same way. And again, it's all about the impact of how the music hits you. So I got one coming up, the new Otis Redding, the Atlantic 75th Analog Productions. That I was pretty critical on that one. So you guys will find out my thoughts on that here in the next couple of days. That will be coming out, my review of that. And again, in general, I really like these Analog Productions Atlantic 75th releases. Overall, it's been a great series to collect. I'm getting them all. I'm subscribed to it. It's one of the few things that I'm subscribed to because I like that there's a diversity of genre, and several of them I didn't have in my collection. But I've been critical on a couple of them because it's not really to do with the mastering or the release itself on some of these. It's been the recording itself that I've had problems with, where some of these recordings that were done, especially these rhythm and blues recordings, they don't sound that good and they weren't mixed that well. That's my opinion. Some of you out there might disagree with me, but the Otis Redding that came out, the Dictionary of Soul, you're going to hear, and you'll see when I'm listening to it, it's like the mixes aren't even nearly the same throughout the whole record. They're very different. And so that has a different impact on you as you're listening to the record. So anyway, there's a lot that goes into, I think, whether or not these pressings are desirable to own or not. And all of us have different opinions on that. So in my opinion, it's just one of many. So one of the things that, again, that makes this fun for me is I play the records for you guys. And that's something that I enjoy doing because I don't have to sit there and print out a sheet and sit there and try to describe to you guys the difference between the pressings. I can play them for you, and you can at least get some kind of idea as to the difference between the pressings when I do comparisons and things like that. And I can tell you what I think about it right there. So unfortunately, that results in almost all my videos getting demonetized, but I do this for fun. This is not a job for me. It's just a hobby, something that I enjoy sharing with you guys. And that's the same thing with the whole Bird Box thing now, distributing those here in the US. And it's just something that is fun for me to do, and it's exciting for me to do, to be able to get these releases out. So other than that, as far as 2025 goes, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of new jazz releases coming out on a lot of these labels. Cellar Music's got stuff coming out. JoJo Records has got new releases coming out. There's some new stuff coming out on Whirlwind. Lorenzo's got stuff coming out on Bird Box, some new releases this year. So a lot of stuff is going to be coming out that's going to be really neat. And as far as, again, collecting for me, it's kind of changing a bit because I've amassed such a large collection now of well over 3,000 records. And it's kind of getting out of control to where how much can I listen to? Because I'm doing the reviews on these, and I'm putting out a review almost every day. So that means I'm listening to something, streaming, figuring out what I'm going to buy. Then I buy the record. I do some research on the record. That takes time. And then I put all that together, and then I do a review. And there's a lot of time involved in this. And then now getting involved with the Bird Box record stuff, I'm going to be spending time doing that. So the time is limited is how much music, how many records can I listen to over, a week. And then also focusing on new music that's coming out, because I'm always interested in new stuff. I get bored if I listen to the same stuff over and over again. I'm just that kind of person. So, but at the same time, it's like there's records I want to listen to that I really, really enjoy. And it takes me a while to cycle back and get around to putting it back on the turntable. So for me, there's going to be less reissues bought this year, but I'm really going to focus on really high quality pressings and things like that I really want to get that, may cost a little bit more money, but there'll be less of those that I buy. but there's going to be more new releases that I'm going to focus on picking up. So that's kind of where I'm at with purchasing new records. Hey, Ivan, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you guys coming on and leaving comments and supporting the channel. So if you guys have any suggestions too, I'm always looking for suggestions. Somebody left a suggestion the other day, and I went and picked up what is the name of it now? I forgot. Charles Porter, maybe is the name. I think it's Charles Porter, a trumpet player. Somebody left a comment the other day and said, you should check out this record. This is another danger with people suggesting stuff, because you guys suggest a lot of good content. And I'll go buy that and, go buy those records. So I have that one coming in. It's supposed to come in the next week or so. I've still got 2 other ones that I ordered based on suggestions that I haven't even gotten around to do reviews. So it's hard to keep up. And I love music so much, I'm able to spend a lot of my free time, listening to music. And I listen to music when I drive back and forth to work. If I see something new that's come out, I go on these jazz websites and look out to see also what's coming out. If people do reviews, they get advanced copies and things like that. I'll go and I'll listen to those. And then if I like one, I'll put that on my list and I'll end up picking those up. So it's kind of like a steady stream of releases that I'm always, have in my queue. And then, of course, part of it is the money, because it gets kind of expensive to buy all these records. So, but it's a passion. It's a lot of fun. So I know that it's the same for you guys. But the ultimate question does come down to how much music can you listen to? How many records can you listen to in a week? And even if I come home and I play 1 or 2 records, again, I'm trying to do a review every day. So that takes up, each review might take up a couple of hours of my time. If I, go and get the background historical information, I put together a sheet on that, and then I actually record it, and then you got to upload it and create the little graphic that goes up on YouTube. By the time you do all that stuff, you've spent an hour and a half or 2 hours on a 30-minute video. And as you guys know, I don't edit my videos usually. Usually what you see is what you get. So just like this live cast, I don't script anything. You guys have seen me, I mispronounce people's names. I put the Analog Productions 45 RPM record on, playing it at 33 RPM. I've done that like 3 times, like an idiot. So, but that's all kind of the fun of the channel. I'm not, here to make a pristine, perfect production videos. That's kind of not what the channel's about. So, but if any of you guys watching the channel now, if you guys are in the live chat and you guys have any questions or any suggestions on records, whether they be reissue or new releases, please leave them in the chat or leave them in the comments section, and I will definitely check those out, because I'm always interested in just learning about new artists and new records. So other than that, that's about all I got. I've not too much else going on here as far as the record collecting goes. Again, the Bird Box thing is a new venture, and I'm really excited about that. And I've already got, after just putting up the introduction video, I've already had several sales on that. So I'm really excited that you guys are going to be able to enjoy these new these recordings that are out of Italy. And again, it's something different. So I'm the kind of person where, I love all those classic Blue Note jazz records and all the Prestige, Riverside. I love all that stuff. But after a while, I get tired of the straight ahead jazz and I want something different. I want, and then another thing, I do like doing like rock reviews as well, but I don't do as many of those because I don't listen to rock music as much. So it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. And most of the time I'm in the mood to listen to some kind of jazz. And I'm really getting into some of these Japanese jazz records too. this Takio Moriyama. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy. I've got 2 of his records that are coming up that I'll be reviewing here soon. Well, my collection, Ivan, is like spread across my entire house. So, I've got, I don't think there's a room actually, except for the bathroom and my guest room. There's no room in the house that doesn't have records in it. So I've got in my living room, I've got, maybe 600 or 700 records in there. Over in my dining area, listening area that's next to the kitchen, I've got maybe 400, 500 over there. In my listening room, I've got maybe over 1,000 in there. In my bedroom, I've got, so anyway, they're spread all over the house. They've pretty much taken over everything as far as my collection goes. So it would be kind of difficult for me to show the collection without walking around the house with the camera, which I'm on this camera here. That's a stationary camera on this. Well, maybe I'll do a video of that. Maybe I'll do like a tour of my collection. Maybe I'll do a video of that, walk around with my camera and just show you guys what I have. I haven't done that yet, so that'd be kind of fun to do. So, but yeah, any suggestions, Ivan, on any records you've purchased lately? Anything interesting out there? Any of you guys? Not that I need any more reasons to buy more records. And then another dangerous thing is to go to the local record store here. There's a record store called Seasick Records here in Birmingham. It's a pretty good record store. They have a pretty good selection, and every Saturday morning at 11 when they open, they have a drop. They drop all their used stuff in there. And that's always dangerous for me because there's always something I'm interested in, when I'm flipping through, like some of these that I picked up, like this jazz record here that I picked up that's yesterday I picked it up. And that's always a danger. You go in there, it's easy to go in there and drop $50 on some records. So, and then Atlanta's not that far, so a road trip over there always will cost me money. Up in Chattanooga, there's a new record store that moved from Florida, which I'd been to their store in Florida. It's called St. Pete Records or St. Pete Music. They have moved up to Chattanooga, and I have not been to their store. They used to have a really great store down in Florida. So I'm interested to see what they have at this location that they've moved out of Florida up to Chattanooga. So if any of you guys have been to that record store, leave it in the comments. I'm curious. That's on my list for a road trip to check out. And also Nashville, there's some record stores I still haven't been to in Nashville, and there's several up there. So yeah, always, ways to spend more money on records, that's for sure. I'm also interested in hearing what you guys have to say on equipment, because on the equipment side, I'm definitely interested in upgrading my gear. So, and that's always a costly endeavor, and how much money you can spend. It's infinite. I mean, you guys know, the audiophile world is, you could spend $50,000 on a turntable, which I would never do, but and there's always a point to where that the amount of money you spend, you don't get as much return for your money on the gear. And there's so much gear out there now that it's really hard to know what's going to sound good with all your different components. So that's kind of why I've stuck with what I have in my listening room, where I do these videos. Even though I'd like to get a better phono preamp, I'm using that shit Monty right now, 2. I'm using that, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a pretty simple setup. I've got that Fluence RT85 with that Ortofon Blue cartridge, goes through that shit Monty, and then goes into my powered Yamaha HS8 studio monitors, which really gives me a nice sound. That matchup really works well. Those speakers don't color the sound too much, and that the turntable going through that shit Monty right into those, it sounds pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's not a quote unquote hi-fi system, obviously. I call it a mid-fi system, but I like doing the reviews on that because I think anybody can relate to this. So the person that owns a $500 turntable, person that owns a turntable that's $5,000, I think everybody can kind of relate to it because you can still hear the difference in the types of recordings that I play on in that room. And but I would like to upgrade. I would like to buy. I've got basically 3 different systems in my house. I have that listening room, which is set up for that in that room where I do the reviews. But then I've got this room that I'm sitting in, which is more of a bar area, and it's got a Riga planar 1 in here, and it just goes through into my clip speakers. And it's a very simple setup. It's kind of when people come over, we hang out here at the bar behind me and listen to records. And it's, it is what it is. Those clip speakers kind of color the sound. It sounds pretty good for this room, and you can pretty much play any genre on it, and it's going to sound pretty decent. And then I have in my other room a completely different setup that's a little bit nicer of a system in there. And so I have kind of 3 different places that I listen to music, and they all sound drastically different with the same records, which is another point that I wanted to make, is that even if you have where are you listening to your music at? Wish list. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. For future reissues, let me think about that. But the point I was making is it's where you're listening to your music at that affects the sound as much as the equipment you're listening to it through. How many, is it you have a room with drywall, high ceilings, curtains, no curtains, reflective surfaces, non-reflective surfaces, all that kind of stuff. And it makes a big difference. Anyway, so I'm definitely looking at getting new gear. As far as a wish list for future reissues, Ivan, I don't right now. I mean, if anytime I go online and go through the Blue Note stuff, there's always something that I want. But again, a lot of it starts to sound the same. So I'm kind of waiting to see what comes out this year as to what reissues are going to come out, and I'm looking for something different. And maybe I may be interested in getting a 1-step. If they do any more of these 1-steps, something that really interests me. After doing that Sinatra review, did you guys see the Sinatra 1-step review that I did? I was very impressed with that. And I know that it's got a lot of criticism by some people in the vinyl community. But I'm actually trying to get somebody on to talk about that. So anyway, I'm not going to go into details on that, but I'm hoping maybe I can get someone on to talk about the 1-steps. So, but the Frank Sinatra 1-step sounds wonderful. And you guys can go back and watch that review. I think it sounds fantastic. Are they expensive? Yeah, I think they may be a little overpriced. In the packaging, it comes with the slip case and that kind of stuff all adds cost to those. So I wouldn't care if it came like the Analog Productions where it just came in a bag and you had like the Frank Sinatra has that real nice gatefold with the book inside of it. It's a really nice production that they did with that. And then it has that vinyl, 1-step vinyl that it's kind of semi-transparent. It sounds fantastic. So there's some of those that I may be interested in getting if the right titles come out in that 1-step. And again, that's not going to be something I'm going to buy a lot of. Maybe one I'll buy this year or something like that. But if there's any other of those kind of releases, I might be interested in picking those up. What are the Strata East titles, Mark, that you're referring to? Because I'm not familiar with those. So let me know what you're referring to there. Which titles are you interested in picking up on there so I can put them on my list and maybe check those out? I got my pen here. So feel free to let me know what you're referring to on the Strata East titles. Because I'm definitely I'm always interested in learning about new stuff. So, and that's, again, one of the things I love about this channel is the interaction I have with you guys. And I know I don't do that many of these live streams, and a lot of it is just getting on here and being able to a lot of times it's hard for me to plan these live streams, and so I'm not able to get a lot of viewers on there like some of these other channels. So I guess I need to probably put those up and put them up for like schedule those out several days in advance so everybody knows when they're coming up, that kind of thing. I need to get better at doing that. So that's why I don't do as many live views, but I'd like live streams, but I would like to do more, and I would like to have some guests on. Tone Poet style, full reissue campaign. What kind of music is it? Is it jazz? The Strata East? I'm about to get on here and look on the internet here. Strata East Records. Who's doing those? Strata East catalog. Okay, Charles Tolliver, Cecil McBee. Looks like kind of more of a free jazz type of avant-garde jazz stuff going on there. Nice. I'll have to check those out. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in a lot of that avant-garde type free jazz. I have to be in a certain mood to listen to some of that stuff. And there's certain things that strike me more than others. I did a review on that Charles Tolliver, which was fantastic. That one that came out on the Reel to Reel, Corey's label. That sounds wonderful. That Live at the Captain's Cabin. That's a kick-ass record. So I'm definitely up for more of the avant-garde jazz and stuff like that. I did the Cecil Taylor review. I don't know if you guys saw that. My first time ever listening to that live at my Mantra. And I still can't get my head around that. I've listened to that a couple times now, and it's just there's nothing repeatable on it, and it's something I haven't been able to grasp at this point. So I gotta spend more time with that record, but I'm definitely interested in some of those new releases or these new reissues that are going to be coming out. But again, it's going to be more focused. I can't buy a ton of them. I have so many that I could do reviews on that I purchased over the last several years, reissues. And some of them I've only listened to like one time. And it's like, and some of these are great records. And I'm like, man, I listened to one of the Bill Evans I picked up, Behind the Dikes. I think I've listened to that twice, and it's a fantastic record. I listened to it and played it for some friends here in the bar area, and everybody liked it. And I haven't got back around to playing it again. So it's like, how many can I buy and how many can I listen to? And then again, keeping up with the new releases, it's a lot. So, but I definitely leave your feedback on what you guys think of the Bird Box Records releases. Again, I'll put the link below to the storefront, and I'm just making them more affordable here for you guys in the U.S. And I had to buy them in bulk and bring them in. But there's some that I didn't have in my collection that I'm definitely keeping for myself, like this. One of the ones I didn't have was that Paola Recchia, and this will be reviewed on Wednesday. This is awesome. So a lot of cool stuff. And these are all limited pressings. There's like only 150 of these made. So anyway, I'm excited about getting those out to people. All right, well, we're going on an hour here, so I'll probably wrap this up here in the next few minutes. But if any of you guys have any other comments or any other suggestions on any of the other reissues that are coming out, anything particular for you, Ivan? Are you looking at anything that's on your radar that you really want to purchase or haven't got yet? Oh yeah, the one I had, the Chick Corea Electric Band didn't catch my attention as much as that Trios, the one with Christian McBride. that Trios box set that has 8 vinyl records. And I've been close to pulling a trigger on that a couple of times. And I've just, it's been, I think the cheapest I've seen is like around $175, which is a pretty good price for that set. That's still on my radar. I'm waiting for it maybe to get a little bit cheaper. It's really hard for me these days to pull the trigger on $150, $175, $200 box sets. But that one's definitely one that's on my radar because I love those records. And now there's a new one coming out. Part 3 is coming out here, I think, in March. It's a 3-record set of that trio. So I'm hoping they'll put those out individually. I wouldn't mind, if they put those out in individual releases rather than the box set. But I have not. The Chick Corea Electric Band, I'm sure that sounds great. That's just not my favorite era of Chick Corea. I like some of the other things better, like that Trios and the acoustic band and some of the earlier stuff that he did. So that's not my favorite. I don't dislike it. It's just not my favorite to where I'm going to go out and buy the box set. So, and I've purchased some of those albums on OG pressings that I've got that are somewhere, and I haven't listened to those in a long time. So it's kind of, that's another thing. An interesting topic is buying multiple copies now of records, where if I have them and I happen to get a reissue that I really like, so like that Yes Fragile album that I picked up, I had an original copy of that, but that was in the Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds Atlantic 75th collection. If I have those, then I'll do a comparison. But if I already have an original pressing and a reissue comes out and I'm already happy with the original pressing, it's getting harder and harder for me to want to buy the reissue, just because for space, how much space the records are taking up already. And then the listening aspect, it's like, am I going to listen to 2 different versions now after I do the comparison now? Am I going to go back and listen to both Fragile records? Probably not. In this rare case, I'm probably going to go back and listen to the OG. And so I've got now an excellent sounding Analog Productions record that's going to sit on my shelf. And that's going to be part of the collection because it's the numbered series that I'm subscribed to. So I'm going to keep them all. But after a while, the reissue stuff, if I've already got the original pressing, it makes it really difficult for me to want to go spend $50 or something on a reissue. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Are you still buying reissues of the same stuff you already own? Now, if I have original pressing and it's maybe not in the greatest shape, then I'll consider buying the reissue when it comes out, depending on what it is, especially with the jazz records, because they're so expensive, some of these Blue Notes. And if I've got like an old one and it's kind of scratched up and it's got surface noise on it, then when the reissue comes out, then I'm open to buying those. But otherwise, when it comes to like rock records and classic rock, stuff like that, it's kind of becomes counterproductive. Oh yeah, that's a great one. Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. Wonderful record. And I had a conversation with Vladimir Shafronov, a pianist out of Russia. We were talking about him. I just put the video up today. It was a part of a conversation we had, and he was talking about that record and how he really liked all that early Chick Corea, those early albums. 6 versions of Blonde on Blonde. Yeah, that is a great record. I think I've just got 2 copies of that. I think I've got an original and a reissue, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, having six copies, it's like, how many of those do you listen to? Purge of duplicate records. No, it's like one of those, one of those deals where when I have them, I like to have them in the collection. I'm one of those guys that's like, oh, you never know. I might want to go back and pull that one out. I might want to go compare it, or I might want to do this or do that. So once I have it in my collection, it's hard for me to get rid of stuff. So that's why I think it's going to be important here going forward to be more selective on what I buy. And as I say that, I went and bought this record today or yesterday. Did I really need this? Well, it's kind of a cool record, Shelly Manne, and this is a really cool soundtrack. I didn't have this one, the Peter Gunn. So it's like, okay, did I really need this? No, but whenever I see a contemporary label and it's in good shape and it's like, all right, I'll spend $10 on that. So now I've got another record that I got to get around to playing and listening to. And so, yeah, it's kind of getting out of control. So as far as duplicate records, I probably won't get rid of any. But I'm going to probably buy a lot less of records that I already have. If, reissue or something like that, I'm not going to buy as many of those. I want to focus on high quality reissues. I think this year, and then of course these new releases that are coming out on these independent jazz labels, I really want to focus on those. And I really, again, enjoy listening to this new music. These new jazz musicians are working jazz musicians. Some of them have been around for a long time, and some of them I'm still learning about. So, this year I really discovered a lot of new jazz musicians that have been around for 20 years, 25 years that I really haven't heard of or never heard any of their records. And so there's still a lot of discovery to be made as far as working jazz musicians. And so I think this year is going to be fun with that. And hopefully I'll be having more of these guys on to talk about their music and their careers and their records. And I recently had Gerald Cannon on. I don't know if you guys saw that conversation, but man, that was a lot of fun to talk to him. And he had so much knowledge and all these different people he played with, McCoy Tyner and all these legends. And of course, he's now a legend and a wonderful bass player, but all kinds of great stories. And another thing I wanted to get your guys' feedback on is on these conversations, I've been going back and forth on whether or not to leave the full conversation or to chop it up into like part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever. I've had people complain that they're too long, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if I make them in parts, then you got to go find them. And with YouTube, you can start watching the video and you can pause it and come back to it the next day and pick up where you left off. So I'm kind of I kind of go back and forth on whether or not to make them in different parts. And, if they're 3 hours long, that's getting up there. But there's some people that like to watch those long ones, those long form videos, the Joe Rogan type of podcast, if you will. And I don't want to, I like the way that these conversations go because some of them might be as short as 30 minutes and another one might be 3 hours. And I've had Vladimir Shafranov on, I think, 3 times now, and we've talked for 3 hours. I'm getting ready to put up part 6. I'm doing his in smaller sections because I've literally got like 9 hours worth of material, of our conversation. So his I've been kind of splitting up into like 20-minute, 30-minute, and they're on certain topics. And we kind of get into talking about a group of musicians, and we'll talk about those musicians for like 30 minutes, and then we'll move on to another topic. So those, talking with him, they kind of break up nicely into, 30-minute, 45-minute episodes. And that's kind of an ongoing series that I'm calling it with Vladimir. So you'll just see those come out over, they're going to continue to come out on a regular basis. And he's a lot of fun to talk with and a lot of great stories. And he's seen a lot. So, but let me know, leave your comments and let me know whether or not you like the long form or you like them shorter. And for me, I kind of like the longer ones personally. And again, if I don't get through the whole thing, when I go back on YouTube and I go back to listen to it, it picks up where I left off. So it's not too much of a deal for me. I have one person that came on and complained that the videos were too long of a conversation. And it's like, well, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, or you can listen to parts of it. And anyhow, leave your comments there and let me know what you think about the conversations. with the jazz musicians, and I really enjoy doing them. I love learning from them and all the different stories that they have, and talking about their careers and who they played with and why they started playing music and why they chose the instrument they chose and what went into recording the record. That Jacob Went conversation I had, that was really a lot of fun to talk with him and to hear what went into actually making that record that he put out, that Silver Street record, and all the work that went into that and all the detail, everything that he worked on that. And that was like a 3-hour conversation. So I really enjoy doing those. I love learning from these guys. There's so much, and they always mention musicians that I've never heard of again, which again takes me down another rabbit hole to where I go start investigating, and then I buy more records, or I still buy CDs too, especially if it's not available on the record. There's still a lot of great albums that are only on CD that came out, in the 90s or 2000s, and they never got put on record. And so that's like a whole nother, rabbit hole to go down. And I haven't even started to do CD reviews, which I'd intended to do already. And I've got so many records to do that I haven't got around to doing CD reviews. So, and a lot of you guys have asked that. Yeah, Ivan, there's been several times where I've done the review and the musician will come on and thank me for reviewing the record. And a lot of times I'm able just to reach back out and get in touch with them. And other times I just email them, and not everybody responds back. There's been people that I've emailed that have never gotten back to me. So, but a lot of them do get back to me. And, so yeah, it's just kind of an organic thing. I did the reviews, and the first one I did was Claudio Quattrone, Italian guitar player, fantastic, and I reviewed his record. And through Bird Box, I was able to contact him, and it just kind of went on. From there, people would come on and thank me for reviewing their record, and I'd say, hey, if you'd like to come on and talk about it, I'd love to talk about your record. And then they come on, and everybody's been so nice. Everybody's been absolutely wonderful to talk with, and to take time out of their day to come on a small channel like mine. Only got 2,000 subscribers, so I'm really thankful that they come on and talk with me. And hopefully, as the channel gets bigger, and there's been like Simon Phillips. He was a lot of fun to talk with. He was on for over an hour. And such a nice guy, and he took the time to really go into the recording side of things, which if you guys didn't see that, you should go watch that, because again, a very down-to-earth guy, and of course, one of the greatest drummers of all time. So he was a lot of fun to have on. There was just everybody that I've had on have been fantastic. So, and been a lot of fun. And some people have been on for 30 minutes. Other people have been on for an hour. Other people have been on for 3 hours. Hey, Justin, what do you think of Verb subscription series? Yeah, I saw that. So the thing with the subscription stuff is I look through the titles that are coming out, and there's like 3 of them at this point that kind of interest me. And so I'm like, am I going to subscribe to this? And I know you can go a month by month, and you can do 1 month, get the one you want, do another month. It's cheaper, a little bit cheaper if you do 3 months or 6 months or a year or whatever it is. So I think those are kind of cool, but for me, it's tough for me to go ahead and commit to that. Where the Atlantic 75th was a little bit easier, that Analog Productions one was a little bit easier for me to commit to, because it had such a wide variety of music. And a lot of the titles I didn't already have, or if I had them, they were old pressings that weren't in that great of shape, stuff like that. So it's a little tougher for me to go with the subscription thing. So, with the acoustic sounds, the Analog Productions one, I'm already buying 2 or 3 of those every month. They're coming out with at least 2, sometimes 3. So that's like $180. Those are $60 a piece. So that's like a commitment to $120 to $180 a month already just buying those. And then I've got these new releases that I want to buy. And then if something else pops up, that I want to get. So it can get expensive. So as far as the Verve one goes, at this point, I'm not planning on subscribing to that one, even though there's two or three selections that caught my eye. But it's nothing I'm really getting really excited about. So yeah, that's kind of my story on the Verve subscription series. At this point, I'm not really going to go there. There's just too much other stuff that I want to buy, and again, there's only so much money. I can't get them all, and I very rarely do I get any kind of advanced copies of anything. I've only gotten a couple, and whenever I get those, I let you guys know. And most of the time, they're ones I was going to buy. Like Corey sent me a couple. That Charles Tolliver. I think I actually bought the Charles Tolliver, but he sent me the Brian Charette. That was a promotional one that he sent me. And of course, I wanted to get that one anyway, because that's such a fantastic record. But very, very few do I get of those to review that are sent to me by these people. Most of the time I find them, I like the music, and then I buy it and then I review it. So there's only so much money to go around with this stuff. And unless I strike, hit the lottery or something, or strike oil in my backyard, that's probably not going to happen. No great fortunes are being left to me. So yeah, that's kind of where I am there. So other than that, anything else you guys have out there? Thoughts on the one steps? Anybody have any experience with those, or any opinions on the one step? And everybody's got an opinion. I heard Kevin Gray's criticism of the one step. And again, I really, the only one I have is the Frank Sinatra one, which sounds wonderful. Yeah, I'm the same way, Justin, about the new jazz than the reissues. I'm kind of in the same boat. Again, there'll be some I want to pick up this year. And I picked a bunch of them up over the holidays. So when all those went on sale on the Verve website, on the Warner website, there were reissued. There was like 3 or 4 different websites that had like 50% off on some of these titles. And I picked up a bunch. They're sitting on the floor in my listening room. And I'm trying to get through them. And I probably have a dozen that I haven't reviewed yet that are sitting there that I bought over that spree there over that month and a half, but over Christmas and the New Year. So I've got a bunch of reissues there that I have to review that I haven't listened to yet. They're still sealed, a lot of those that came. And so yeah, these new releases, these new jazz releases, I'll be paying more attention to those and doing more of those reviews than I will be once I get through this batch of reissues. And of course, a lot of these new jazz records aren't coming out for another month or so. They're coming out, a lot of them in February. They're going to start dropping in. And so I want to get through all these reissues that are sitting on the floor in the listening room, so that when those start dropping, I can pick those up and kind of show you guys those new releases. So a lot of great musicians and a lot of great new jazz. And again, that's really important to me, because that's what's keeping the genre alive. We can't, if you go to I wrote an article, if you go to the storefront, the Bird Box storefront that I have now, which again, I'll put the link below, but if you look at the channel announcement that I had with the Bird Box records distribution deal, I wrote a couple of articles on the website, and one of them was the importance of supporting the new jazz artists, and not only from a supporting working musician aspect, but also from a record collector perspective, because more and more I hear about people that are asking the question, what am I going to do with my record collection when I die? Right? A lot of these married guys that have been collecting records for their entire lives, their families aren't interested in those jazz records. Their families aren't interested in those old records and recordings that were done in the 50s and the 60s. And a lot of those, a lot of people don't know what they're going to do when they're gone. Are their kids going to want those records? Are they just going to take them to the record store and sell them all? So anyway, my whole idea was if we can get if you have a family and you've got kids and you can get them interested in new musicians, people that are playing now that you can take to see, or you can see online, or are engaging an audience, you can get them into the new jazz stuff. That's going to lead into an appreciation of the old stuff. And so there's something about having a buy-in into working musicians that's different than collecting somebody who's been dead for 30 or 40 years. So my argument was in the article is that if you want to have your record collection be appealing possibly to your kids after you're gone, maybe you should look at getting into some of these new artists that possibly your kids or your family may be interested in and can kind of get engaged with over online. These people that are putting up YouTube videos. A lot of these young jazz musicians are doing a lot of cool stuff online, and they're doing videos on their practice scales. Emma Rovich, I did a review of her record, which is fantastic, called Chroma, that came out last year. And so these young musicians have something different to offer than their music. So that's kind of my argument. Yeah, Ivan. So I do have I have like 3 or 4 Japanese jazz reviews coming up. Takio Moriyama, I'm really into him right now. I did a review of one of his live records maybe a couple months ago. You can go back and check that out. If you go to the playlist that I have of jazz reviews, you'll see it in there. But I've got 2 more Takio Moriyama reviews that I'm going to be doing that are sitting unopened that just came in the mail, and a couple of other ones as well. So I do like a lot of that Japanese jazz. There's some brilliant players and some intense players. That's kind of where I go to for that real intense kind of avant-garde, even venturing into some of that free jazz, but it still has enough form to it to where it's got some meat to grab onto. That's kind of where I go to when I'm in kind of like one of my, I don't know, irritated moods, where before I would have put on a Megadeth record or something like that. Now I kind of go to those avant-garde, intense jazz stuff to kind of, when I'm in that kind of mood. So yeah, I'm definitely exploring the Japanese jazz. And I've got quite a few. I've done quite a few reviews on some of those, but there's still quite a few that I haven't done yet that are sitting over on this other rack that I still haven't got to. They're open and I've listened to them, but I have never got around to doing a review on them. So I'll definitely that's definitely another rabbit hole to go down, is that whole Japanese jazz side, because there's a lot of really talented musicians and it's different. Again, something that you don't get with American jazz or European jazz. So anyway, anything else you guys got before we wrap it up? And if anybody's interested in coming on, on as a guest in the future, let me know, and I can send an invite link, and maybe we can get some people on and have a discussion on some of the stuff. So I'd love to do that. I have yet to do that. So it's something in the future that I would like to have, is to have some guests on. So. All right, we're about 1 hour and 15 minutes, so I'm probably going to wrap this up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight, and hopefully I'll be doing more of these, and I'll try to schedule them in advance so that people will know when they're coming, and hopefully we can have more people on. So I haven't got really good at doing these live streams. So, all right, well, I'm going to call it a night, and I appreciate you guys hanging out, and we will talk soon, and stay tuned. A lot more of the reviews coming up.